Hey everyone, today's video is on nerve conduction velocity, or the speed that an action potential travels along an axon. Humans respond to things in different ways. If someone taps my patellar tendon unexpectedly, my quadriceps begins to contract in about 20 milliseconds. This is a response that allows me to do things like go skiing, where I can keep my ski moving forward even when it hits a bump unexpectedly. Doesn't look like it's always successful. On the other hand, there's a reflex response to a drop in blood pressure near my brain. That autonomic response takes longer, which is why I get dizzy for a few seconds after I flip upright in this case, or maybe you felt lightheaded when you've gotten up off the couch to get something at the fridge. There are two things that are going to affect the speed of a response. One is the number of synapses involved in the neural pathway, and we'll discuss this in a follow-up video on synaptic delay. The second thing is the speed that an action potential travels along an axon. Different neurons conduct action potentials at different speeds, so we want to look at how the structure of a neuron controls that speed. When someone taps my patellar tendon, the signal travels very quickly toward and away from the spinal cord. That's because the neurons have fat axons and they're myelinated. If you want a review on myelin, you can check out the video linked at the master list above. Signals that affect heart activity take longer to arrive at the target, not only because there's an extra synapse, but the neurons conduct the action potential slower. These axons are narrower and have either little myelin or none at all. There are two things that affect the speed at which an action potential travels along an axon. The first is the amount of myelination. The second is the diameter of the axon. Myelin speeds up an action potential by insulating the axon and causing saltatory conduction. When we think about the diameter of an axon, think about it like an electrical wire. We need a really thick wire to carry 60 amps of current to my car charger, but I can get away with a thinner wire if I'm just trying to get a small amount of power to this webcam. Thicker axons have lower resistance, which allows the action potentials to travel faster. This chart shows the different classifications of neurons and where you can find them. When we look at the stretch reflex, or the knee jerk that I showed at the beginning, the afferent neuron has a large diameter axon with lots of myelin. The motor neuron also has a really fat axon that's myelinated. Action potentials travel really quickly along both axons, up to 120 meters per second. When we look at the cardiovascular response, the efferent neurons, there are actually two of them for each pathway coming from the spinal cord. The first neuron has a narrow diameter axon with a little bit of myelin that conducts action potentials at a moderate speed. The final neuron has a narrow diameter axon with no myelin at all, and the nerve impulses travel slowly along that axon, sometimes at a meter per second or even slower. As we dive into more details about specific neural pathways, you're going to need to keep in mind how the structure of a neuron affects nerve conduction velocity. This is going to play a big role in understanding how quickly we can respond to different types of inputs.